Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I audit my study habits so I can achieve better grades while putting in less time and effort. And these are the same techniques that help me get a 4.0 GPA and a 523 MCAT. So welcome back to the channel. My name is Koda, and if you're new here, my mission is to help students become the Zen Pre-Med. Basically, this is a student who is able to get top grades while putting in less time and effort and still enjoy their social life and other parts of their college experience. Okay, so for some background about this. So I first came up with this idea of a study habit audit, or basically a way to look over your study habits and see what's working and what's not working through my time taking Orgo 2, Organic Chemistry 2 basically. And in Orgo 2, what I realized was after my first exam, I think I got like a low B, a high C maybe on that exam. And I realized that I needed to audit my study habits because some of my habits were not effective, and you could tell based on what type of questions were on the exam. I remember when I took my first exam for Orgo 2 that there were so many questions that were more integrative. They would take aspects from different parts that we learned. So maybe one would have something about SN1 reactions or SN2 reactions. I don't know. I'm trying to go off the top of my head here. I don't remember. Like SN1, SN2 reactions where you have to mix it with some other reactions that you learned to create like a synthesis, for example. And I realized that the study habits I was using, which was more based on just doing each block of problems for, like, let's say we learn one reaction type on one day and we learn another reaction type on the other day. I was just doing problems that were related to that instead of ones that were integrating sort of all the different parts of organic chemistry. And so I'm going to show you how I came up with the strategy of a study habit audit and how this helps me get much better grades while still putting in less time and focusing only on the stuff that's the most important for you. Okay, so first, how do you start? So first, you're going to go into the class and you're going to take your exam. You're going to study how you think is appropriate to study. So like I mentioned for Orgo 2, I decided, hey, I'm going to go back through the textbook that we were assigned. And in that textbook, I'm going to do problems related to each individual reaction type we learned. So we learn those individual reaction types, I do the problems, and then I take the first exam. Once you take the first exam, see how you do. And I would say it's more important to see what types of questions you're getting wrong, not necessarily the grade you get. So for example, in some other classes, maybe I'll get a high A in my class. Maybe I'll get a 95, but I'll realize consistently that I'm getting all these types of problems wrong. And maybe it's one specific type of problem that next time I study for the exam, for the next exam, I'm going to integrate that type of problem into my studying. So then that way I get more points, and in case something changes, I can still keep up my grades even if the problems change slightly or become a little more difficult. So once you're done with that first exam, you're going to get your result back. In my case, I got a low B, high C. I wasn't happy with it, and I wanted to get a better grade. Based on that result, you're going to take your exam and you're going to perform what I like to call an exam audit, or I've heard it called like a post-mortem on the exam, basically. Basically, you dissect every single part of the exam. So you go through every single question, you see what you got wrong, and instead of just seeing what you got wrong and maybe even writing down what you got wrong for the next time, you're going to do that study audit, and then you're also going to take a list of all the habits that you do to study for your exam. So let's say one of those is reading your textbook, doing practice problems before class, doing practice problems after class, and studying for the exam by doing problems from the textbook and then doing a practice exam. Let's say that's your sequence of 5, right? Activities that you're going to do. Based on the result, you're going to be able to figure out sort of what is not effective for you. When I performed the study audit for Orgo 2, I found that there were several things that were not effective for me. So reading the textbook was actually not very effective for me because what we were doing is we were reading the textbook and then the next day in class we would just go over the exact same material. And so I would spend hours, like 2 hours, 3 hours before each class just reading the textbook, and it was such a waste of time. I know people say, oh, you should read the textbook and you should do all the problems that you're assigned. Honestly, it's not that important to do all of this, right? Because ultimately, you need to do what's most effective to get you the best grade possible while you still understand the content to the best of your ability. And so I realized that I just need to cut that out completely. So I shortened it down to maybe 15, 30 minutes where I would just skim the textbook just to get an idea of what we were learning in the class the next day. And then after learning it in the class, I'd go back to the textbook instead of doing it before class. I go back to the textbook after class and see, oh, I missed out on this topic. Let me just read up on it a little bit before I do the exam. Another thing I found was I actually started going to office hours more for this Orgo 2 class. And I found in these office hours, which were like group problem solving sessions, the professor was giving great advice on how to study for the exams. She was also giving different problems that were, while not the exact the actual questions on the exam, they were close to questions on the exam. And so just by examining all the resources that were available to me, I saw, oh, I need to go to office hours more, because I saw that my friends who did go to office hours got higher grades than I did. And so let me go to office hours, and that increased my grades for the rest of the semester. I also started using another textbook after class. And so instead of the assigned textbook we were using, I downloaded another one. I think it was Klein Organic Chemistry. If you know, you know. And I did those problems instead of the problems from my normal textbook, which I forgot what that was. These problems were more integrative and more like the questions on the exams, because they took in different aspects. So like they had basically this list of integrated problems considering different reaction types, different concepts, and mashing it all together into one problem. And that really helped me stay on track and get much better grades. And then I realized that some of my habits were actually effective. So taking the practice exams were super effective, because those exam questions, while a little easier, they were still the ones that were on the actual exam, or like the ones on the actual exam. And so it was super important for me to take those practice exams, and there are still stuff that you can keep even if you didn't do great on your first exam. Okay, so you perform this rigorous postmortem, you see everything that you got wrong, you change up your study strategy, and then just stick with that study strategy for the next exam. And you'll find that you'll probably do better, because at the end of the day, I think you're smart enough to figure out what's effective and what's not effective, even if you don't want to admit it. And just asking other people who are taking the class, or the professor, or people who have taken the class before, can really help speed this up too. So that's another bonus tip that I'd like to throw to you guys. Hey guys, short break from the video, but if you like study advice that's geared towards helping you achieve the highest grades possible and save your time, then check out the first link in the description. It's a link to my program with full guides and tutorials on how to become a Zen pre-med. And it's the same system that helped me achieve a 4.0 GPA, a 523 MCAT, and medical school acceptances as well. There's no pressure to sign up, but currently it's on pre-sale, so it's 50% off. So click the link below again to become the most effective student possible. Now back to the rest of the video. But I think it's super helpful to perform this study habit audit, because my grades after performing it for that class skyrocketed. So it was like night and day. I think I got like a 99 on the second exam. I got maybe a 95 on the third exam, and then I got 100 on the final, something crazy like that. And so I went from getting bad grades and studying more, ironically, to getting good grades and studying less. So it was like a perfect win-win. I got better grades, I was doing better in classes, and I had more time to myself. And just why does this work? Very briefly, so there's something called the Pareto principle, which I'm sure you've heard of, but basically it's the idea that you take 20% of your inputs lead to 80% of your outputs. And so the most effective study strategies, like active recall, like spaced repetition, like doing practice exams, those are the 20% of inputs that you need to put in. And by putting in that 20%, you get into 80% result, right? And that 80% result is going to be your great grades. And so just find the most effective study habits and just do those, and stop wasting your time on the other stuff, and don't feel guilty if you're not spending your time doing the others. Okay, so an extra bonus tip as well, if you do this for enough classes, so let's say you take 2 chemistry classes, you take Gen Chem and you take Orgo Chem, and maybe you take a physics class, and then you realize that all those types of mathematical type classes are really helpful, and they really only take like one type of study strategy to study for, then suddenly you're taking Calc 2, I don't know, your senior year, and you got to figure out like a study strategy for that class. Then you have all this previous experience from doing those study habit audits and from just studying for other classes, and that will help you when you create study strategies for other classes. So at that point, you won't even do bad on the first exam. But again, I still recommend performing the study strategy audit after every exam, honestly, especially the first exam, and you should achieve better grades using this result. Okay, so my call to action to you guys, give this study audit strategy a try. Make sure you audit all your study habits and figure out what works best for you. Don't blindly follow what other people are doing, because you don't want to be like other people. You want to be better than what other people are doing, right? And you'll find that if you do this study strategy enough, you'll automatically boost your grades, and you'll spend less time studying for the exam. So leave a comment down below if you've had any success with this method, or if you have any questions on how to implement it. And please give a like and subscribe to the channel if any of this advice helps you out, and check out some other videos on my channel for more study advice. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.